Sometimes in life, we gotta let things go and see how it plays out. Kind of like the first story we'll see in this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. Our first story this week is going to take us over to Lake Travis, where this was the scene this past week when a rental vessel at one of the local marinas caught fire. Several of the locals from around the marina all banded together to try and extinguish the blaze, but after exhausting several fire extinguishers and attempting to get it under control with a hose, it was determined the best course of action was going to be to release the vessel from the dock in an attempt to get it moved out of the way so it couldn't cause any more damage to any other vessels until local fire officials could arrive to try and extinguish the boat. Several of the boat owners from around the marina used their vessels to actually push this boat completely away from the marina over to the shores across the lake, preventing any damage to any other vessels at the marina. Really is a pretty successful drive by this crew in what could be a tough situation. Now I know the fire doesn't look that out of control here, but you have to keep in mind, once again, these crews tried to extinguish the blaze before pushing it out, so this is nowhere near the fire they were originally battling. Fortunately, due to the quick work of these crews, no other vessels were damaged during this incident and no injuries were reported. Our next story is going to take us down to South Florida, where a group of litterbugs was literally caught on camera tossing trash in the middle of a protected island in Biscayne National Park this past week. Here in the video that was caught, you can see these crews literally walking from their vessel, grabbing large bags of trash and just tossing it into the middle of the island. Another South Florida local who happened to be on the island at the same time became infuriated when he saw this, pulled out his cell phone and started recording the crews doing this, and even recorded their vessels and the registration numbers so it could be turned over to officials after the event. Local officials have been questioned after this and have said they do know who was doing it and they're going after them to the fullest extent they can. I gotta give props to the guy who actually recorded this. In a situation like this, it's tough to hold back. He admitted he wanted to go confront these guys about doing it, but knew it was best for his family and their families not to do that. Way to show some restraint and way to turn it over to the proper authorities and let them handle it. But it will be interesting to see how this one plays out, if this crew faces heavy penalties or fines, or possibly even jail time. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to the North Carolina coast, where this was the scene just a few days ago when the Coast Guard received a distress call from a fishing crew aboard the vessel Hatteras Breeze, who reported that they were taking on water. The vessel was located approximately 5 miles off the coast in the Pamlico Sound. Initially, as a Coast Guard rescue vessel arrived on the scene, they passed over a dewatering pump. The crew on board the Hatteras Breeze for several minutes struggled to try and get the dewatering pump going. Coast Guard crews, seeing them struggle, actually sent their own man over to get the pump moving, but it still didn't matter. A few minutes after that, the vessel began to sink by the stern. With the Hatteras Breeze crew quickly realizing there was no recovering the vessel, they had no choice but to abandon ship. Obviously, the Coast Guard was already on the scene. They were able to toss some lines into the water and pluck the two fishermen out. With the quick response of the Coast Guard, there were no injuries reported in this incident. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us over to New Orleans, where this was the scene a little over a week ago when a massive blaze broke out at Seabrook Harbor and Marine Facility. It's still not quite determined what exactly started this fire, but it is believed the fire actually originated in an office building on the property, but quickly grew and left a large part of the facility and several boats badly damaged. A spokesman from the local fire department claimed that when they arrived on the scene, they found the office building and 5 boats fully engulfed in flames. They had several major challenges when trying to fight this blaze. One, there were no fire hydrants on the facility or close enough for them to access. They wound up having to reroute water from the canal to try and fight the fire. The second major obstacle they faced was as they started fighting the blaze that morning, the winds began to pick up, fueling the fire even more and causing the fire to jump to other vessels in the marina. Fortunately, the crews were able to quickly work and get the fire under control, and there were no injuries reported in the incident other than the damage to the vessels and the property itself. Our next story to make the boating news this week is going to take us up to British Columbia, and it's a story we've covered in the past, and that's the good old Barge Beach. We just crossed the year anniversary when this barge landed on a beach in British Columbia, and crews are finally starting to dismantle it and almost close to having it completely off the beach. The vessel came ashore during a heavy storm back on November 15th in 2021, and crews tried several times to remove the barge from the beach using tugboats and various other methods and just could not get it to budge. So finally they started to dismantle it. And as can be seen here, crews are almost done, but locals have kind of made fun of this. They renamed the beach itself to Barge Beach, even placed signs on the beach calling it that, but looks like that's coming to an end. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Boating News of the Week. If you ever see anything crazy happening out on your waterways, be sure to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram and let me know, and you might see your stories over here, just like Nicholas Ray, TextBoy512, Adam Coolidge, Demetrius Witherspoon, and Anthony Gazzardo did this week. And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and drop an anchor on the subscribe button here.